We're Bexley Reapers Wargaming Club, and this is Dead Show.
Dead Show. Okay,
yes.
Right.
Basically, think wargaming convention that has been invaded by zombies.
That's like any wargaming convention.
Yeah, well, we say zombies loosely. Smelly gamers also applies.
Right.
You need to get off the board and collect pre-orders to do so. So there's a deck of cards with gamer trope rules and stuff in. So there's one called Whack Gamer, win at all cost, which advances zombies. Just little gamer-in jokes. You need to get so many orders to get off the board before you're eaten by zombies.
It's a very striking looking game. So we've got all the traders set out there as well, and then around the side we've got all the games, all these little micro diorama setups. Who did all those for you?
So a number of them were done by one of our club members, Gavin. He basically went home and turned up one day with 12 beautiful little tables. The rest were done by us yesterday, using various models we all have in our collection. The stalls, part of them are made by companies, so we've got some TC Combat stalls and some Micro Art Studio stall, and the rest I've made myself out of MDF. All the traders that are on our board we went to, and they gave us permission to use their logos, and they gave us ideas for rules. So some slow you down because they talk to you, some speed up zombies. Just a silly fun game. It takes about 6-7 minutes to get through, so you can quickly have a game while you're at a convention.
Well, it's a great looking game, really striking. And how's it gone so far? Have people managed to escape, or the zombies been getting people most of the time?
So far, most people escape with one of the group being sacrificed, we've spotted. Usually it's the children sacrificing their dad. And the dad gets left behind as the kids escape off the board.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, which is nice. I did have one game earlier where the mum and the son were deliberately spawning zombies on each other to try and kill each other. So there wasn't as much teamwork in that one, but it was hilarious to watch.
So your game brings out the worst in people, that's what we've...
Yeah, and the best, because you can help people if you want. But yeah, you can play it however you want, which is a nice thing about it, that you can play it as a team, or you can play it versus.
Okay, right, let's start at the beginning. Who are you, what's your club, and what game are we looking at here?
My name's Dave, I'm from the CHELMSFORD bunker. We are playing Battlefront's Team Yankee game today, which is a supposed what-if World War III scenario. I'm joined here with Tony, Jeff, Nat and Dan. And this is a theoretical Soviet invasion of Copenhagen. The idea being that if they can take that out, it will destabilise Denmark and maybe force them to capitulate and drop out of NATO, thus freeing up the Soviets to freely advance and concentrate more forces against the Americans and the Brits and the Germans further south.
Okay, right, great looking table, loads of smoke everywhere, so there's obviously been...
the first couple of turns whilst we were at long range, it was mostly manoeuvring and posturing, while the aircraft attempted to do their bit, but they got shot down quite dramatically. And then once the tanks actually got into weapons range of each other, it became a real killing field. I mean, for example, here there's a group of Leopard 2s just behind that wall. They opened fire on these T-72s in the middle and just completely annihilated them. I think the damage was so heavy, I think the shells actually went through one tank into the next and into the next. It was that bad. It was nothing but sixes all the way. So,
and Team Yankee's obviously a game that you like playing. Is it a regular for you and the club members?
Yeah, I mean, if regarding the club and what we play, it's predominantly, because it's an evening club, it's a lot more smaller scale, easier games that are easier to transport, things like X-Wing, smaller points values of 40k. Guild Ball is very popular at the moment, as is War Machine and Hordes. We do play some Team Yankee, obviously not at this scale because there's not time to set it up, play the game and then pack it away again in an evening. But we do some playtest games, some smaller skirmish forces, that kind of thing. We also play a bit of Star Wars Armada, and some of the guys are starting to get to Star Wars Legion as well. No problem at all.
let's start at the beginning. Who are you, and what club are you with, and what battle are we looking at here?
I'm Jan Carmen. It's not really a club, it's more sort of an all-star team from England, Sweden, Finland. That's probably about it at the moment. And we only meet once a year and put on this. So we're DALAUPPROR, and we put on Battle of Staket today. That's 1719.
Very impressive looking table. I love to see a lot of ships in a lot of water, and you've certainly got that on there. Now, am I right in saying you're the main modeller behind the project?
Yes. I've made the boards, the trees, the buildings, and the ships, and the fortifications. But the lovely figures that you see, they're painted by Michael and Jesper and a couple of other people. Timu from Finland as well joined in with his. He's got a large collection of the same period.
So just tell us a bit about the battle, because it looks very intriguing, and it's not one I know much about. What's going on?
It's the very end of the Great Northern Wars, and basically Sweden at this point, basically bankrupt. Trying to invade Russia wasn't a good idea. Russians coming over, trying to bully us into a favourable peace agreement. They're sending over 100,000 soldiers and sailors over with hundreds of galleys and literally raiding the whole coast. The only area properly defended is Stockholm. This is the old route into Stockholm, and it's defended partly by sunken ships, but also by some almost home guard troops.
Okay. And what rules are you using? Are you using Pikeman's Lament?
We're using the same as last year. We're using Pikeman's Lament, and they seem to work well for this sort of. It's not the largest battle in the world, and they work well for this size. Yes.
Right, okay, well, luckily for you viewers, we are going to see more of this game in Wargames Illustrated, because I'm going to press the boys into writing an article for us about it. But for now, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
What you like? Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Two onto them, yeah.
And we're looking for 9.
Plus you hold the cornfield.
We've got the cornfield, and we've got the flanks of the cornfield really secure. We're in 12, so we don't need to be any closer. Okay, right, okay. We're now here with Great Escape Games table, which is 1914. A new game, I believe, isn't it, Stuart?
Yes, brand new. It's released today. Yeah, we're really excited because it's something slightly different from what we've done before. We've never delved into very small scale, but we really wanted to get the feel of brigade-sized actions, and we had to scale down in order to do it. You can't do it in big scale.
So what scale are we looking at?
Well, it's 12 mil is the technical scale, mainly to help my eyes, because I probably couldn't paint 10 mil anymore, but these figures are really lovely to paint. The amount of detail is exactly right, so that you can get a lot of detail in them. And we've done 4 armies in total. We've done German, British, Belgian and French. There will be some further releases for all those armies. So, for example, elite infantry, they get them in the coming weeks.
Yes,
and it looks great.
Yeah, just to underline that then. So, as well as the game, the Great Escape Games are producing the figures as
Correct.
well.
Yes, yes, and we're creating the game accessories, which are all available. We've got buildings that we've produced in conjunction with Foreground, again, these are new foreground type buildings. So nobody will have seen this style of building with the distressed stonework on them, and they're really lovely.
Yeah. So with it being called 1914, does that mean you're trying to concentrate on the more mobile aspects of the Great War?
Yeah, and on the Western Front, so yeah, Battle of the Frontiers, that whole series of actions where they were racing to the coast and trying to outflank each other. Before it denigrates into trench warfare in the winter of 1914, because we wanted to concentrate on these more sweeping actions of manoeuvre where cavalry sometimes were actually used as cavalry or mounted infantry, and you just had these big swinging actions. It's World War One, we're focused on that trench warfare, especially from 1915 up to near at the end of 17. We're really focused on that. That's the image that's in our head of World War One, but that's not the reality, because in the first few months they were kind of fighting like they were in the Franco-Prussian War or even beforehand. And there's that old adage that you can only fight the last war, which means that generals who were criticised for the tactics during World War One, well, they only had their experience to draw on, and so they couldn't apply that new modern thinking because it didn't exist yet. But those first few months of 1914, you do have that kind of type of warfare that actually, to a degree, I think, completely disappears from history after December of 1914.
Okay, right. Well, good news for viewers is that we're going to see more of this game, because Stuart's going to bring it over to WIHQ and we're going to do a proper rules showcase on it. But for today, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right, on that machine gun, it doesn't have anything special standards or minus 1d3 plus 1 health. Right, sir? Yeah. Okay, we'll make a note of that, so that the right part is supposed to be the match to come out. You like certain? Huh? You like
Right, so we'll start at the beginning. We're starting here with Ian Smith, and we're looking at your marvellous 40mm ACW table. What is it we're looking at exactly?
Right. Well, it's a game that isn't real. It's not based on history, but it has all the elements of real history. For instance, the fort is a Fort McGee. It was built in Florida, and it's a real fort, but they built it on sand, so it collapsed. So the reality was it not very interesting. It wasn't assaulted or anything, but I had it made for me by David Marshall at TM Terrain, and we looked at all the various models, and we just thought that's a really interesting design shape. So for the purposes of this history, we've moved it further north to Charleston, and we've said that the fort was at the mouth of the river, and the Union troops are assaulting the fort, which allows them to get down the river and into Charleston and hopefully end the war early.
As well as the very striking looking fort there, we've got a marvellous ironclad at the end there as well.
Yes.
How was that constructed?
A friend of mine had half done it out of balsa wood, and it wasn't very strong. So I took it and I added lots to it, like guns and troops and various bits that I'd got from model boats, and finished it off. The actual reality in real life, the shells from that boat would have destroyed the fort in about an hour, because the British were very good at inventing rifled guns, and bricks weren't very good at stopping them. So it changed the whole thing about forts, which is why in the American Civil War there weren't that many actions around forts, because all they would do is bring the big guns up and blow them to pieces, literally.
And have you been playing the game out? Have you actually got very far with it today?
We had a set of, we keep throwing the odd dice for a chance, but basically it's a choreographed move, and the Union are assaulting the fort, but fortunately Robert E. Lee has finally come home south, and he's led his troops back to try and relieve the fort, and so far we've now got a cavalry assault over there where General Custer is leading his Wolverines against the flower of Southern chivalry.
And who are the figures by? Are they one manufacturer, are they several?
Well, the beauty of, or depends on your viewpoint, but the thing about 40mm is it kind of takes us back to the hobby as it was a long time ago, in that there isn't one manufacturer producing absolutely everything you need. So I've had to put together a combination of Foundry with their old 40mm range, Sash & Sabre, who do a very, very comprehensive range of 40mm, and Trident Miniatures, which is now sold in the States by Musket Miniatures, who again do a very comprehensive range of 40mm ACW.
Right, Ian, thank you very much.
No problem.
10. Alas, it doesn't happen. Okay, so that's those two.
Could you do it again? Punch again?
Oh, yes, you can. Very good. 30. Okay, so, right. So that's those two all done. You've got this Indy here, that Indy's not for you.
9.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Okay, right, so that's that.
And then again.
And again.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 dice then.
Hi, I'm Warwick Raid. I'm here with IRONFIST Publishing and Plastic Soldier Company, doing the demo game for Battle Group Torch.
Okay, and what is Battle Group Torch all about?
Right, well, Battle Group Torch is the supplement for Battle Group for World War II, for the late Desert War. So it's end of 1942 to 1943.
Okay.
And it deals with basically all the forces and the background scenarios stuff for mostly the fighting in Tunisia.
You must be up to, how many supplements have you done now?
I think we're up to about 8 or 9.
Wow.
I'm working my way through the war.
Are you? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's what we're working. When after 10 years, I will have done the war,
Oh, yeah.
and it'll be finished.
It sounds like you've got a plan.
I have got a plan. I started with a long-term plan. I've still got the same plan.
Okay. What battle is this specific to?
Oh, right, okay, so this is the American Combat Command B, 2nd Armoured Division's attempted advance along the Medjera Valley in the initial dash for Tunis. When it's their first engagement in theatre, we ran into the Germans coming the other way, got a complete kicking off the Germans for it. Lost a lot of their vehicles and tanks. So this is the very early engagement in Tunisia.
Okay. And what figures are we looking at here?
Okay, so most of the vehicles are Plastic Soldier Company ones, so although there are other plastic kits in there, Hasegawa tanks, there's some Dragon Shermans, a few die-cast ones as well, but I'd say the majority is Plastic Soldier Company. The infantry is a mix of all sorts of stuff. It's the foundry stuff, AB, SHQ, there's some Britannia guys on there. Yeah, so really, it's, mix and match.
Are you using your patented potato sack
Not patented, unfortunately. You can't patent grit on Hessian. I tried to, they didn't let me. I'd be a rich man if I could. No. Yeah, this is our quick and dirty, almost literally dirty, way of doing desert. Desert. Oh no, it's not quite desert. It's more sort of desert cultivated mix. Desert-ish.
I think it's a technical term.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Warwick. Thank you very much.
No problem.
No, I'm not. This one fog machine using the basic pipes to be able to speak over internet. And unfortunately didn't survive the trip. We had a reception on that, so water from the tube should have been bubbling and lit. But it's got a slow.
My name's Simon Walther. We are the Old Guard from London, and the game we're looking at here is a Le Grand Battle Command and Colours of the Battle of ASPERN-ESSLING, Day 1. So it's the Austrian attack against the French after they'd crossed the River Danube, and they got a bit caught unawares, the French, overstretched themselves. So it's very much a, hands to the pump for the French, very tough game for them.
Oh, okay.
And, as I say, it's the system Command and Colours based on, we've taken from a board game and put it onto figures using, you can see 6-inch hexes and then 28mm figures.
From what manufacturer? Are these from all over the place?
No, most of them are Foundry Perry, so basically Perry, old Perry Foundry. There are a few gringos in there, gringo officers, but that's pretty much what it is. The artillery, some of the wagons and things are war bases, MDF. So they're not, but virtually all Foundry and Perry. Yes.
Yes, some interesting bases here.
Well, what we've done is these are the officers. So what we've actually had it made is a ring. So if you, so that comes off. Right. So that's the actual commander. And then you've got, that tells you it is, because obviously what I'm not going to do is paint every officer. Some are specific. So over here, for example, is land. And it is actually the land figure by Gringo. So I did him for the game. But obviously most French officers, there isn't a figure maker who makes them all. So they're just very generic. But it gives a bit more colour to the game as to the officers. It doesn't really matter. There is a version which they're bringing out, which is something called Leaders of Honour, where the actual name leader does have an impact. They have slightly more capabilities, but that's not out yet. So that's really it. And then the game, as I said, card-based dice. And what I like about it is, A, you can get a lot of figures out, it looks great, and you can get a game done. This size game, properly, it should be 8 players, 4 a side. That game should be done in no more than 3 hours. You know, for a battle this size, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's very good, and it's a great looking table. Yeah. Thanks very much for showing us.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Come and join in the speed painting. And as you right now, the lactic acid is starting to build up on your muscles. You're going to start cramping. You're just going to work through it.
My name's Chris, and I'm with my friend Ben, best buddies, and we started playing Bolt Action fairly recently. We've both been into war games for many years, and we were looking for something like this, and it scratched a particular itch. You know, when we started to play it, it kind of reignited our why we play war games. I'm very interested in historical, you know, and I had some snowboards already made with some trees already done, so I was thinking about what I could use it for, and then we watched HBO's Band of Brothers again, specifically the Battle of Foy, and thought this would be really cool if we did that. So we started making some terrain for it, some scenery. Had fairly generic terrain, and then it's kind of evolved from there, where we started to incorporate more elements from Foy itself. You know, doing a lot of research, and you know, Ben's made the church to be a good representation of, you know, pretty much identical to it, and there's other buildings as well that are directly referenced from the town of Foy or the village of Foy. We started adding more to it as well with the Panzer IV outside, where there's quite a famous photograph of a wrecked Panzer IV outside the church of Foy. So this, we've tried to incorporate as many rules as possible out of the Warlord Games Bolt Action Battle of the Bulge campaign. So we've incorporated elements of where Spears makes his kind of famous run across to liaise with I Company. So we've incorporated that into the game, where he has a length of time to get across, and also he's very hard to kill, you know, which gives him an advantage. We've played it about 6 times, you know, right through, and this is only the 3rd time he's actually managed to get across and get I Company involved. So essentially you can't use I Company until Spears has got there to activate him. We've also put some other characters in. We have Eugene Rowe, the medic, represented there. He's a slightly better medic. We've got Winters there, who's just basically just for character detail. He's there, and obviously Spears is here. He's just key to it. And then this is I Company, and that's the majority is E Company there. And the main objective is, we decided, was the church. You know, was to try and capture the church in a set number of turns. We have a Tiger tank, because in the TV series and the HBO series, the Tiger tank appears in it, so, but there's no historical reference for it being there at all. But it's a nice reminder for Tiger Fear, which is, you know, if you play Bolt Action, the German army get a -1 leadership to anyone that you can spot a German tank. So it's kind of a nod to that as well. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a great looking table. One of the most striking things, going back a bit to the terrain, is the cracking ice.
Yeah.
So how do you create that effect?
Well, these are Games Workshop commercial battle boards, but the originals have skulls in there, recessed in there, so I think it was a bit too, there would have been too many skulls, if you like, for a World War II battlefield. So basically I've just covered them over with little bits of slate, you know, and glued them on to create the kind of cracked ice effect. It's probably a bit OTT, you know, to have something as large as that on there, but you know, with it all on, it breaks it up, because you know, predominantly it's white. You know, it's a white board, so you know, it breaks it up a bit.
Yeah, and it does look great. Yeah, thanks very much for bringing it along. Cheers.
Okay.
Right, we're going to ask you to step up here, what normally you-ish or not, doesn't matter. Hand us your golden ticket, and then you'll take a dice roll, and you're looking to get 11 or 12. If you get 11 or 12, you're free